welcome back to the channel. It's Lauren. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to Scent Sunday. Today I'm so excited. We're gonna be talking about like one of my all-time favorite loves of perfume, and that is MFK's Baccarat Rouge 540. You either love the scent or you're like not a fan, and I know that it's popular. I know that it feels like so overdone that everyone loves this, but I am one of the people who loves it to death, okay? Sam also loves this perfume. It is pricey, it is expensive, but I do find that it is just amazing. It's an amazing scent. If you haven't gotten your nose on this yet, I highly suggest checking it out in a department store. Different stores carry it. You can also get a sample from their website. There's samples different places. I have a code of Twisted Lily. You can get it there if you want to, but I love it. Okay, it is so good. I'm gonna read you some notes off, but to be honest, with Baccarat, I feel like it's a little undescribable. It's hard to describe, okay? You just need to smell it and then we can all kind of just know. Unless you hate it, then you don't get it. You're like, what the fuck? This is a woody ambery fragrance. It has saffron and jasmine in the top, amberwood and ambergris in the mid, and then fir resin and cedar in the base. And I feel like the notes on that are so misleading because this is such an airy, sweet smelling perfume, but it does sweetness in a way that's really quite classy and it doesn't feel juvenile. It smells expensive. It is a unisex perfume. Anyone could wear this and it would just smell amazing on them. There is kind of this medical note that comes out. I don't know how else to explain it besides it does smell a little bit like the dentist's office or something kind of sterile, maybe some, you know, latex gloves. I know that sounds bad, but I do get that note and I still love this perfume. I think it smells just amazing. Obviously, I am almost done with this thing. I'm gonna cry when I have to repurchase it, but it will be no hesitation. Like, I will need this back in my life. Some people have described this scent as almost like a spun sugar, a burnt sugar, kind of cotton candy, but again, it doesn't have like a fake nasty cotton candy smell. You definitely smell the saffron in here. I read saffron as a kind of spicy yet watery kind of note. There's something almost sterile and kind of hospital-esque to me about saffron just on its own. So I think that's what's giving that to this perfume. And I also really love amber. I love how resinous it is. I also find that the amber in this kind of lends itself to be a little bit more of that burnt smell, kind of a toasted smell is how I describe it. And I love that about it. And I'm learning that I kind of can smell the fir in here, and I kind of think of it like the Times Fraser fir candle that I love so much. There is a quality about that candle that kind of is in here. This isn't as piney, like as like Christmas tree-esque, but I do kind of get that as well. It's just a beautiful scent. Again, if you haven't smelled it, get your nose on it. We'll stop going on and on, but this entire video is going to be talking about perfumes that if you like Baccarat, I think you might like these perfumes. I'm not really talking about dupes in this video, so nothing is like duping it out exactly. I do have a video on dupes if you want to check that out, and this is included, but kind of the short of it is my favorite dupe that I've tried out there for Baccarat, if you want like an exact or something that's trying to replicate it exactly, is the Ambery Saffron from Dossier. I've used about half of that too, and I tend to wear them together. That's like my favorite dupe, but really the perfumes I'm going to be mentioning in today's video aren't meant to be necessarily dupes. It's more like if you like Baccarat, you might want to branch out and try these ones. I always want that from perfumes that I like I want to know, okay, where do I go from here? I want something different obviously in my collection, but I kind of want to see what else is out there, and it's sometimes easier to branch out into stuff once you kind of have a foothold. So I'm hoping that this can be that for you if you were interested in it, but let's just get into it without further ado. Now, I'm getting it out of the way because you knew it was coming. I am going to put Ariana Grande's Cloud in here. This is consistently and constantly talked about. I feel like in comparison to Baccarat Rouge, it is not a dupe at all, but there are some similarities. I feel like where this really smells like Baccarat is in the airiness, kind of the lightness that this perfume has. It's sweet and light and airy. There's some woody notes in here as well, so there is something kind of grounding it. And then I also find that this has that kind of same medical kind of note to it. I don't know what's doing that, but it's definitely there. I find that Cloud is definitely a lot sweeter. This has a whipped cream note in it. It has a coconut note in it, and I love this on its own, but it can be confused. Like when it's in the air and you're kind of passing by someone, I find especially in that opening, it can be kind of confusing, or you can kind of get the resemblance of this perfume to Baccarat. I've even had Sam like come into the room and be like, oh, did you spray Baccarat? And I'm like, oh. cloud. So, you know, it happens, but I definitely think like overall the wear on this and what it does, it can't quite compare, but it's definitely in the same realm. So if you haven't tried Ariana Grande Cloud yet, I would smell it, see if it's something that would work for you because it is at such a better price point. I tend to wear this most for bed. I really like it kind of snuggling and cuddling and I don't know, just watching a movie, lounging, that type of stuff. Like that's how I prefer to wear this. I don't wear this one out as much. Whereas with Baccarat, I would wear that out. I'd wear that all the time. Like I'd wear that anytime. I love it so much. It could be like a signature for me, but definitely wanted to give this a shout out. I do really like it, and I think it's a good place to start. It's pretty readily available, and you can get your nose on it if you go to Ulta. Anyway, let's move past that. Next, I'm going to talk about Mancera's Instant Crush. Now, this also gets compared to Baccarat. This is Ambery. This also has a saffron note in it, so there are some similarities, and I think if you're looking for perfumes with saffron, this is a good one to go to, like if you're finding that's a note you really enjoy. I highly suggest checking out Instant Crush. It is one of my favorites in my collection, probably in the top 15, probably 10, but we'll say 15 for now. Honestly, a lot of the ones I'm going to show you are in my top, like 15. I'm really showing you my favorite perfumes right now. This has such a beautiful sweetness to it. I love that so much. It does have this kind of spicy quality too, and there's ginger in this perfume in the top. There is something, it's part of like, I feel like the Mancera DNA. That's definitely a part of this perfume, so definitely we need to know that. It's strong, this is in your face, but I really love it. The full list of notes on this in the top: saffron, ginger, Sicilian mandarin, and Sicilian bergamot. Then we have amberwood, Moroccan rose, Egyptian jasmine, and Indonesian patchouli leaf in the mid. And then in the base, there's Madagascar vanilla, white musk, sandalwood, and oak moss. I love this kind of ambery, juicy, woody sweetness that comes through in the base of this perfume. It feels like there's this kind of top layer that's a little bit spicy, a little bit powdery, and I've even seen some reviews that have like described it as like gasoline smelling. So I hope you're not someone, if you decide to smell this, that smells that, because I get it. I guess I get what they're talking about, but I don't quite read it as gasoline. But there's kind of this top layer, and then once you get past that, there's this just beautiful, sweet, kind of like ambery, woody vanilla base, and it's so beautiful. I definitely think if you like Baccarat Rouge, you have a high chance of potentially liking this. I'm surprised there's patchouli in here because I don't really feel like anything comes out super patchouli to me, because that's not a note I necessarily love, especially if it's super prominent or like out there. The lasting power on this is just amazing. I'm one of the people that for Baccarat, this does not last on me. Like it just doesn't. I don't know. It gets eaten up. Like it doesn't last on me. I know some people talk about how this stays forever. If I want more longevity and like a similar-ish smell or a similar vibe more like, I definitely would go with Mancera on like a night out where I know it's gonna be a long time. This is gonna stick to my clothes, stick to me, and really be there for me. So love the lasting power on that. I'm trying to think of where I wanna go next. Let's go with Clean Reserve. This is Amber Saffron from Clean Reserve. So if you want that kind of ambery saffron perfume, that's what this is. Now, this isn't like one of my all-time favorites. I definitely think though it could be something you'd really enjoy if you like Baccarat. You're definitely smelling the saffron and the amber in here. I feel like the saffron in here is like a little bit more spicy. You get that kind of, for me, saffron comes off just kind of watery. Like it smells like almost distilled water, but in a spice, but the spice isn't necessarily spicy. Does that even make sense? But that's what I get. This also has a really nice sweetness to it, and I almost get something kind of citrus, but it has a really nice sweetness. It's different than the way the Baccarat is. It's not quite as airy. There is something a little bit denser about the sweetness in this one, but it's definitely in the vein, and obviously a way better price as well. So I feel like it's something that if you're obsessed with saffron, you're obsessed with amber notes, you might like this perfume as well. It might be a good one for you to go into, and it's also from a clean brand. The notes on this are bergamot, artemisia, mandarin orange, raspberry, lily, rose. I definitely smell that raspberry. I think that raspberry is really giving it that sweetness I'm talking about. And then in the base you have saffron, amber, and musk. I knew I was smelling something kind of citrusy as well. I just think this is a nice suggestion, and I don't necessarily see a ton of people talking about it, so I wanted to give it a shout out here because you can smell that saffron, and if you're big on saffron, this might be one to check out. Next, we're delving a little bit different. This one is from Brown Girl Jane, and this is the scent Casablanca. I believe they have 3 different scents, and these are quite affordable as well. I mean, compared and kind of in the perfume world, I believe this is a $60 perfume, but this is kind of, more in the realm, like if you like Cloud, you like Baccarat, this is gonna be something I think you should try out. The reason this made the list is because it has a similar quality to Cloud to me, and the like kind of marshmallow sweetness and that kind of airiness as well that Baccarat also has. This does have notes of saffron. I believe there is an actual marshmallow note in here. I believe there's also a suede or leather note. Let me check it out for sure. Yeah, it's suede. Okay, notes on this. Marshmallow, cardamom, and incense in the top. It has vanilla orchid, suede, and saffron in the mid. And then in the base, it has sandalwood, amber, and musk. So we're seeing the amber, we're seeing the saffron. You can smell the saffron in here. Again, I get that kind of like watery, spicy thing going on, but you definitely smell the marshmallow. You definitely smell that kind of suede note. And one of the reasons this is in here is not only the notes are similar, but I do kind of get that same kind of medical thing going on. It's definitely because of that suede. There's something kind of like bandages going on, but if you want something sweeter, this is definitely more sweet, more powdery. It's not as airy in the sweetness. I think the sweetness in here leans more toward how it's being done in Cloud than it is in Baccarat, but I think it's a nice suggestion, and I don't hear again a lot about this, but I think it's really beautiful. I also like the incense on here, and I feel like this is a little bit more of a grown-up version of Cloud. Like it's a little bit more oomph to it, has that incense note. I don't know, it's really, really great, and it's one I really enjoy in my collection. So definitely suggest checking that one out if you haven't and you kind of like the way I'm describing it. I think it's a good offshoot if you want something sweeter. It's definitely sweeter though. I mean, it literally has marshmallow in the notes, okay? All my tester strips smell so good. I love them all. Let's talk about some perfumes that I feel like aren't necessarily similar in notes at all, but I feel like they have the same vibe and they have the same airiness. So the way the sweetness is done in them reminds me of Baccarat in that it's light and airy and lifted. It's not heavy, it's not dense, it's not overpowering. And I just feel like if that's the quality you like you like the sweetness and that it's not too heavy, it's not too juvenile maybe, these might be ones for you to check out. So in that vein, I have Fragrance du Bois Minuit et Demi. This is very, very, very similar to Changing Constants from Penhaligon's. Like honestly, so similar. I actually think I prefer this one, but I know this is very expensive, although that one is too, but Now again, notes, not similar, okay? This has caramel and tobacco. It has these spicy notes in the top. It has pimento and cardamom, and you definitely smell that spice. But for all the notes I'm about to read to you, this perfume is still sweet and like lifted. It is not heavy, and it is surprising that it is not heavy. And I just feel like if you want to try something again that's kind of sweet, like you're kind of into the sweetness going on, how lifted it is. This also has, it's not burnt, but it's like spicy, a spicy sweetness. I think you're gonna love this. This is again one of my tops. I'm telling you, I'm talking about my fave perfumes here. Let me read you these notes. This has cardamom, pimento, and bergamot in the top, caramel and coffee in the mid, vanilla, Madagascar vanilla, cinnamon, tobacco, musk, liquor, cedar, vetiver, and cashmere in the base. Lots of notes, lots of sweetness, and I just think this easily could have gone into something super syrupy and heavy and pretty dense, and instead it has just such a beautiful elegance to it, like again, a lifted, like you're walking with your back straight type of thing. I just love it, and I think it's a good one for you to try out if you like Baccarat. Not the same, no amber, no saffron, but I think you'll like it. Okay, similar to that, we're talking about the airiness and how the sweetness is. This is probably the biggest reach, but I want to shout it out, and I just, as soon as I sprayed it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of Baccarat, like just in the way that it's done, like it's in the composition and the way it's basically arranged, like how the notes are done, not what the notes are. Okay, this is Saint Julep from Imaginary Authors. This is so refreshing. This is like the summertime fresh citrus mint julep version of Baccarat, okay? It's like if Baccarat had a limited edition scent that was for a mint julep, that's what this would be. Now, you're definitely getting some like citruses in here. You're getting like a sugariness as well, but again, it's nice and airy, it's light, it's not cloying, it's not heavy, it's not syrupy. There's a brightness to this. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm gonna read you the notes. They put their notes on the back, which I love. This has sweet mint in it, definitely getting something minty. It is like a mint julep. It really is so refreshing. Tangerine, southern magnolia, bourbon, grisalva, I don't know what that is, sugar cube, and crushed ice. I mean, How nice is that? So, so good. I feel like even if you don't love citrus scents, you might still like this. There's something about the way that this is done. It's not like a traditional citrus scent. It doesn't like smell limes. I mean, there's not lime in it. It's a tangerine note. And there's something about like the sharpness that citrus can have is definitely diluted down, but there's still a brightness and something kind of lifted about it as well. I just love it, and I feel like it's one that more people should talk about. And again, if you like how the sweetness is done, that kind of spun sugar type of scent, I think you'll really like this one. Very, very good. Definitely a summertime version to me. I only have a few more to talk about, but next I really want to focus on an amber heavy perfume. So this doesn't have any saffron, but if you're really into woody scents, ambery scents, if that's the thing you kind of like about Baccarat, I think you might really like this one from Juicebox. Cheeky Smile. I always want to call it Cheeky Slime. It's not Cheeky Slime. It's called Cheeky Smile, Lord. Why? Why do you want to call it the wrong name always? Anyway, I got a sample of this because the notes on it looked intriguing. It had ISOE Super in it, which is one of my favorites. I love woody stuff and I love amber, and I just felt like this might work for me. Amber can be done really animalic. It can be kind of stinky and like in a way I genuinely just don't like. But when amber is done in that toasted way, I really love it. I really love that. And luckily that's how this one is for me. So notes on this: ISOE Super and ambroxanide. Then there's ambroxan and amber. I mean, come on. Ambroxan, I love ambroxan. Then in the base, cashmeran and amber extreme. So this is an amber bomb. It is so good, you guys. Now, amber plays different on different people's skin. There's an amber perfume from Ellis Brooklyn I really like called Super Amber, but on the test strip smells great. On me smells like literal spit. Someone's hot, wet mouth, and you know, it's not good. It's not good, and it breaks my heart because I really love how subtle that one is. I really do. We can do a whole video on like amber scents. We'll have to do that. Anyway, I definitely just say with any of these perfumes, I always suggest sampling and trying them out because they all work differently. Everyone's nose is different, and also everyone's body chemistry is different, which plays a huge part, and I feel like especially with ambers. But this has a beautiful toasted note. It definitely smells a little burnt, a little toasty, and I freaking love that so much. This has a bit of sweetness. Now, it's not going to be listed in the notes because it's not a sweet perfume, but something about the way this amber is has a tiny bit of sweetness, and I love layering this. I love wearing it on its own. It is just so good. I feel like if you want a more extreme and kind of amped up version of Moroccan oil, like the smell of Moroccan oil, that's kind of the vibe of this as well, just so you can kind of have another place to go from, because this doesn't smell like Baccarat in terms of the saffron, really. But again, if you like the amberness of Baccarat, I think this is a good place to go to, and kind of has a similar vibe to it, and it's so good. I love smelling this on Sam. I love smelling it on me. It's just so good. It's also kind of like a step up from like if you like Molecule, like Eccentric Molecule 01, and even 02. I think the 02 is like ambroxan. If you like those types of scents, this might be a little bit of a step up where there's a little bit more going on, but kind of still in the wheelhouse. So check it out. So good, especially if you like ISOE Super, which I have a video planned to do on ISOE Super too. So that will be coming at some point as well. Anyway, I love it. It's so good. Please check that one out. The last perfume before I get into things that I feel like really kind of mimic, like it's their version of Baccarat or their take on a Baccarat type scent. Before I get into those, the last real perfume I have, and probably the most different, although I've heard people compare this also to Baccarat, is Greenwich Village from Bond Number 9. I don't get that this is like Baccarat. It's not like it. This has a freshness. This is way more floral. The sweetness in it is really nice, and I do find this to be kind of like odd in that it's fresh yet something more comforting and sweet. There's like a vanilla in here. I believe there is a praline note. I really like this. If you want something not as woody maybe than Baccarat, this might be the way to go, where you want something kind of fresh but you still like something about Baccarat, kind of the sweetness and a little bit more of a lifted sweetness. Again, something that's not too heavy and not too like sticky and gourmand. I think this might be something for you to try out. Now, this is a doozy of a price tag. It's very expensive, but man, it is pretty good. It is really good. It's like a really nice, to me, spring type of scent. I like it for that the most. Like spring, maybe summer, but there's just something like a little pep in your step about that one. There's no amber in this, so I don't know what it is. I don't know why it can give off. Maybe in the sillage, I could see it maybe giving something similar. I don't know. The top notes on this, lychee, cassis, and mandarin orange, like nothing similar. Peony, water lily, and jasmine. There is jasmine in it. That's in the mid. And then ambroxan, praline, vanilla musk, and oak moss in the base. So really beautiful. I'm just gonna leave a little shout out here. If you want something more similar, I feel like to Baccarat, or maybe like a mix between Greenwich Village and Baccarat, TriBeCa from Bond No. 9 is really good. And the first time I smelled it, I was like, oh, I love this. But then I smelled it a little bit more, and there is something about that perfume that does get a little stinky on me, a little indolic, a little animalic, a little pee. It smells pee. Okay, let's just call it what it is. Fucking pee. There's a pee scent to it, and I'm not gonna lie, I am coming around to the pee scent. I don't know what that says about me, what that means, but I'm willing to entertain a bit more of that kind of stinky white floralness more than ever. So maybe, you know, I'll come around to this scent to actually want it, but I'm not there yet. So I thought I would just read you the notes on this kind of as a bit of a bonus perfume for you to check out. The main accords, caramel, amber, woody. So that's kind of where it's similar, I feel like, to Baccarat in that amber and wood. So top notes, cacao and hazelnut. And then in the mid, there's cedar and jasmine sambac. And I find specifically with jasmine sambac, if that's in it, it might be indolic. It might not, it might be fine, but it might be a little bit more of that stinky jasmine. And then in the base notes, caramel, ambroxan, and moss. So one to check out, definitely closer in scent, I feel like, to Baccarat than Greenwich Village, but I personally like Greenwich Village on me more, at least at this point. I think I might get there though, because it's one of those ones where I'm like, oh, I like you, but... And I've had perfumes that are like that for me in the past, and now I like them. So we'll see if I get over that hump ever. Okay, anyway, moving on from that. The two that I feel like if you're looking for something more close to Baccarat, like kind of a dupe, kind of in there, I think Sunset Riot from All Saints is a very good dupe. Like this smells very similar to me to Baccarat. I don't know if they're intending to dupe it or what, and I don't think the notes are super similar, but I get the vibes. Maybe this doesn't have the sweetness. I don't think it's quite as sweet, but it's definitely... I can't imagine that they came up with this scent without thinking about Baccarat, you know? This is light and airy. Again, not necessarily as sweet. It does have some amber in it though. The notes on this, amber, cedar, pink pepper, orange blossom, and rose. If you like something ambery, I think you'll like this. I definitely do actually pick up on the orange blossom. It gives it a little bit of a freshness. There's something, yeah, a little bit more fresh about this one, but I'm telling you, it is damn close. It is damn close. And again, if you're looking for something very similar to Baccarat, I think you're gonna like this. Or if you're like, I don't know what any of these smell like, but you've smelled Sunset Riot, then maybe that'll give you a touch point also. You know, I don't know where you're coming from to where you might like start relating perfumes. This one's really nice. A little bit, maybe even fresher though. It's very good though. And then last, before my final bonus perfume, I know, I'm trying to keep it a little short. This is the Sol de Janeiro Brazilian Crush Cheirosa 68. I believe it's the Beija Flor scent. This smells so good, and definitely, again, is like Sol de Janeiro's version of that type of scent that Baccarat does. So I find this is really airy, and it has a really nice sweetness to it. This also has jasmine. It's really the only note that is similar. This also has like dragon fruit, and I know it seems like it's going to be fruity, but I really don't get a fruitiness from this. It's just nice, sweet, airy. It's kind of more, I guess, along the lines of Burberry Her. A lot of people compare Burberry Her to Baccarat, so maybe it's more in that vein, I guess. But I really love this, and I just want to shout it out because it's a lot more affordable. You can get the small size, which is like 20 bucks. I think the bigger ones are more at 30 or something, but definitely similar. You know, if you like the vibes, I think you would like the vibes of this. It's definitely worth giving a smell at least. And I actually have really been enjoying this. I mean, I'm halfway done with this. For summer, it's been a really nice, refreshing type of smell where it's not overly fruity, you know, it just works well, I feel like, in the heat, and just gives me something cooling and refreshing to put on. So love, love, love that. And then last, my last bonus, I don't actually own this as a perfume, but I wanted to shout out Tiziana Terenzi's Spirito Fiorentino. I promise I'm trying. It's just the American tongue. It's heavy, okay? This, if you like the medical scent, I feel like this has a a heavy kind of latex balloon thing going on. So if you really like that about Baccarat, you might like this. It's so interesting. It almost has, I don't know why I'm getting almost a licorice note. I've never gotten that before. It has something kind of white floral going on as well. Let me look up the notes. I don't know them off the top of my head, actually. Leather. That's definitely giving you the latex balloon smell. It's the leather in here. It's really, it is beautiful. It's a little bit, I could definitely see people being like, oof, don't like that. But I can also totally understand why people would love this. So notes, saffron, of course it's in here, that watery saffron for sure. Orange, jasmine, lily in the top. Mid notes, ambergris, ylang ylang, lily of the valley, magnolia. Definitely more of those florals. But then we have that amber. And then in the base, leather, birch, precious woods, musk, oak moss, sandalwood. Now this is probably similar in price point. I don't really know the price point of these ones. I know they're expensive, but just want to check out maybe if you are in there smelling around. You might like this. Maybe it's a place to start for Tiziana Terenzi. I have not branched out too much into the brand, but I was able to get a sample off of Scentbird, which was amazing, and you didn't have to pay up for it. I'm like, okay, do you know this is expensive? Like, what are you talking about? It might be a good one to start with. I don't know. It's what I kind of started smelling. That and Kirky, I think that's how it is. Someone told me it's kind of like Nike. So Kirky, maybe? Anyway, that's my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that it maybe gave you a few scents to try out and see if you like. There's a lot of different stuff going on, but something about all of these perfumes in one way or another kind of reminded me of Baccarat, or just made me think that, hey, if you like this, you might like that. So let us know some of the perfumes you think are like that out there. I would love that, and I'm sure other people who are already wanting to watch this video might enjoy hearing your suggestions as well. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for being here this Sunday. I really appreciate it. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.